7:40 right now, and we have a very special guest joining us in studio once again. Attorney Kim Baer is here, and you're here to talk about something that people might not necessarily know exists.
So Iowa, like most states, has what's called statute of limitations. And so you're probably saying, well, what the heck is that? And that is, we have statutes that govern how long you have to bring a claim. And it depends on what the type of claim is.
So they're not unlimited.
It's not unlimited. And the reason for that is that we want to encourage people to act on their rights. We don't want, for instance, if you and I were in a car accident and I've got a claim against you, we don't want me to wait 10, 15, 20 years and then say, hey, Lou, you hit me. Well, you know, okay, where are the witnesses now? Where's the car now? So we want people to act in a timely manner.
Got it.
So that we have witnesses and evidence. So the biggest one that we see a lot, and I bet you I probably have had 2 or 3 phone calls just this week where I've had to say to people, you're too late, I'm sorry.
Really?
Yes, is when you've been hurt. So if you've been in a car accident, if you've had a dog bite, if you have a nursing home claim or a medical malpractice claim, the statute of limitations is 2 years.
That's not that long a period of time.
It's not that long, especially if you think about the fact that you've been hurt, you probably have had some medical treatment. Sometimes you're thinking about it. Usually in nursing home cases and medical malpractice cases, people just aren't sure. Do they want to do something? Do they not want to do something? They have to talk to their friends and family. And so they wait too long. And so the 2 years runs typically from the date the accident happened. So if it's a medical malpractice case and it's from a surgery, it's going to usually run from the time of that surgery. Not always. There are some exceptions. So let me give you an example. Let's say that you have your appendix out and you had it out in October of 2016 and they left a sponge in you, but you don't know. I mean, how would you know that?
Right.
And then January of 2017, you go and have an x-ray or a PET scan or something because you're having some pain and they say, oh my gosh, you've got a sponge in you. Well, you've only had 1 surgery, so you know where the sponge came from. The statute of limitations probably runs from January, when you first found out.
When you discovered.
When you discovered it. And that's actually why it's called the discovery rule. So, but what I tell people is you don't want to bank on that because sometimes we think, oh, the discovery rule is going to apply, and then down the road the court says, no, 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 no. You know, Lou, you were having a lot of side pain right after the accident. You had a duty to go and get this thing earlier.
Now, is this when you have to file the paperwork or before the claim is settled?
No, this is when you have to file the paperwork.
Okay.
So 2 years if it's
to get the process started.
Yep, exactly. So if you're 1 day short of 2 years, you have better get that lawsuit on file. So it's got to be filed with the court, otherwise it's gone. So then contracts. So let's say, Jackie, you and I have a contract. We just talk and you say, I'm going to sell you my car. And I say, great, I'll pay you $5,000 for it. You give me the car, but I only have $4,000. And so I say, hey, Jackie, I'll pay you the $1,000 later. And I just never get around to it. And you're saying, hey, Kim, what about the $1,000? Now that's an oral contract because we don't really have anything in writing.
Right.
And you have 5 years to sue me. So you just need to remember
even over
that.
an oral contract.
Yeah, even because it's an oral contract. So now, let's say that we had a written contract. Let's say that you said, you know, let's say the two of you bought a car, and Jackie says to Lou, Kim Baer would want me to put this in writing.
Right.
So I'm going to put this in writing, and you agree to buy the car for $5,000, but you only pay $4,000 on it. That's a written contract if it's got the terms in it and you both have signed it. So now you've got 10 years to file a claim.
All right.
And for contracts, it runs from the time it breaches. So let's say that maybe I'm making payments to you, and I'm making payments, and then all of a sudden I stop. When I stop, then the statute of limitations starts running. So the big point here that I want to make to people today is just don't wait. I was just telling Lou, I was just telling both of you before we went on air, I have had probably 3 calls this week where people just waited too long.
Too long.
And when they call and they talk to me, it sounds like they probably had a good claim, whether it was a car accident or a dog bite, and I think in one case it was a medical malpractice case. And I said, you're past the 2 years. There's not anything we can do for you, and I'm so sorry, but we can't change the law. So you need to. So the point is, you need to act quickly.
So the contracts, keep that in mind.
The contracts.
So 5 years on oral, 10 years on written.
Right, and then if you've been injured at all, it's going to be 2 years, and that also includes wrongful death. So if you've got a relative or a friend that was killed in a car accident or was killed on a accident site or something like that, you need to remember that's 2 years as well.
Okay, what about fraud?
Fraud is 5 years. So if you sell me a house, well, let's not use that one because that's probably a contract. Let's say that you talk me into buying a business from you, and so we enter into a business situation, but you just lie to me straight out. You say this business makes $1 million a year, and I believe you, and maybe you show me some documents so that that's justifiable reliance. But it turns out that this business is a dog, and now I've got this business. Well, if you've clearly lied to me or misled me, then I've got a claim for fraud. I probably also have a claim for breach of contract, but my fraud claim only has a 5-year. And we want, fraud is an important claim that you want to preserve, because on a fraud claim, you usually can get what's called punitive damages, because the law wants to punish you for doing things like that.
Really?
Yep, so we can get, and sometimes we can also get attorney's fees.
So that's a pretty big one.
So that's a pretty big one. Yeah, so you just need to remember that fraud is 5 years.
And the statute of limitations that you're talking about are specific to Iowa. Does every state kind of have their own rendition of what that is? So if you get in a car accident, say in Nebraska, are the rules going to be a little different, or because I'm a citizen of Iowa and have insurance in Iowa, it goes according to Iowa rules?
Excellent question. So for a car accident, it's going to be governed by the state where the accident happened.
Okay.
For instance, I'm working on some cases right now. I've got one in Minnesota. I think I've got one in South Carolina I'm working on, and one in Illinois. And those statute of limitations are all different.
All different.
Yeah, and so the first thing I do when somebody comes in and says, hey, I was in a car accident up in Minnesota, I was driving up there to see my kids, is I get online and look, because I want to make sure I know what the statute of limitations is in that state.
Okay.
Typically, not always, typically it's longer. Iowa
really
has short statute.
Shorter ones.
Yes, but not always. So don't bank on that. You need to look it up.
Now, are there any exceptions to any of these rules that we just talked about, or not?
Yeah. So we talked about the discovery rule. Also, if it's concerning a child. Usually, for instance, in a car accident case or something like that, if a child is under the age of 18, we toll the statute of limitations. And so typically a child can bring the claim up until age 19. If it's a medical malpractice case, it's a shorter statute of limitations, and it usually depends on when it occurred. But so if the child's under the age of 8, it normally will run until the child is age 10. But if you have something involving a child, whether it's a car accident or a medical malpractice case, that's typically what we see with kids, you definitely want to talk to a lawyer and make sure that you understand how long you have. Because in some cases, get the process started. And the important thing about these injury cases is almost all attorneys do it on contingency fee, which means that it's not going to cost you anything to go call a lawyer, meet with them.
Okay.
I know we offer free consultations, as do most law firms. So just make the appointment and go get educated. Google's great, but Google is not a law degree. Okay.
It doesn't always have all the accurate information, but your lawyer does. So it's as easy as picking up the phone if you've had something happen.
Yes.
Don't wait, folks.
Don't wait.
Make that call now.
That's the key point. Don't wait.
A ballpark figure for people that call in and have something going on involving a statute. You're on the borderline. What percentage of people do you think fail to meet the statute of limitations?
Well, gosh. So this week, like I said, I had 3 calls this week. I would say, maybe 25%. I think it's quite high.
Yeah, that is high.
Yeah, and it's surprising to me, and that's the reason why I thought we'd talk about it today, especially since I'm seeing it in my office, because it's worrisome to me, because like I said, for instance, this medical malpractice case, it sounded like a good case, and those cases are hard. So if I think from talking to the person it sounded like a good case, it's just they waited too long. And same thing with car accidents. We'll have people that'll call and they're 2.5 years into it, and maybe they've been treating, but they're too late.
There's not a whole lot you can do.
No.
All right. Make that call, folks. And if people do want to call you, Kim, today, because they hopefully didn't wait too long, what's that number?
Yes, you can just give us a call at 515-INJURED or 279-2000.
That's perfect.
Perfect.
Wonderful. Thank you, Kim Baer. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good to see you guys.
We will be right back. It is 10 minutes before 8 o'clock. This is CW Iowa Live in West Des Moines.